everyone, welcome to yet another new video on learning Windows PowerShell in my channel Telugulo Telusko. In this video, we are going to talk about PowerShell's built-in help system. Essentially, when you start learning any new technology, you end up needing a lot of help. It happens with every new technology that you learn. So people generally approach other people who are working in those technologies to seek help, or they start looking for help online in their favorite search engines. That's absolutely okay to do when you are beginning. But the point of this video is to walk you through the PowerShell's inbuilt help system, where you have a lot of detailed documentation available, which is really helpful when you're starting with PowerShell. I personally use this help system a lot, though I'm familiar with PowerShell for quite some time now. This is a great detailed information that you can ever find on any of the search engines. So let's jump in and see what we are going to discuss in this video. So we are going to see what PowerShell built-in help system has to offer to you, and then we are going to discuss how to keep that help system up to date. And finally, we are going to use the get command, our best friend, to interpret the help system. What are the commandlets that we can use? We can find those commands using the get command. So let's first understand what PowerShell help has to offer for you. So PowerShell help displays help about Windows PowerShell commandlets and then concepts. So a commandlet is essentially, we already spoke about, so it returns some kind of an output when you execute a command, right? For example, get service. A get service is a commandlet which is going to display all the service information on my particular console screen. So if you ever want to know how to use that particular commandlet, what all the parameters that it supports, and can you get some examples for me, you can ask PowerShell right away, and PowerShell will get you some examples on how to use that particular commandlet. So a really useful information available right there. And then it also provides information about concepts. So what it means is, in Windows PowerShell or any other programming language for that sake has a lot of concepts to deal with. For example, loops is one of the concepts which you can use in a particular programming language to do an operation an n number of times, right? And then similarly, there are other concepts like regular expressions, where you can use these regular expressions to do pattern matchings. So this is one of the concepts within Windows PowerShell. And also there are logical statements and then operators. So there are a lot of different concepts that you use in Windows PowerShell to build your scripts. So if you ever need help on those concepts, PowerShell built-in help system has a really great documentation that details about how to use those concepts, and we are going to see that in a couple of minutes from now. To get PowerShell help, you need to type get help followed by a commandlet name, which means if I need to find a help for get service, I need to type get help. Remember, the dash is always there. Get dash help and then get dash service. So when I run this particular syntax, PowerShell understands that I am specifically looking for help on this particular commandlet. So it gives me detailed documentation on how to use that particular commandlet, and along with that it also gives me some of the examples on how to use that particular commandlet as well. That is really useful. And then when you talk about the conceptual based help, all the conceptual based helps will start with about underscore. For example, get help about underscore loops, right? So it will give me how to use loops within Windows PowerShell, a detailed documentation. So this is how you interpret the PowerShell help system. So before we go ahead, let's understand the concept of updatable help. So normally PowerShell has taken this approach with version 1 and version 2, where when a particular PowerShell shipped with operating system, for example Windows 7 shipped with version 2 of Windows PowerShell, and this particular version of PowerShell has some commands, say for example 100 commands, and also it has help files sitting in the operating system hard disk for those 100 commands, right? Now if ever Microsoft released another new set of 50 commands for Windows 7 version 2 of PowerShell, that approach that they need to take in order to push these 50 commands with the help files is to bundle them up in an operating system update like service packs or hot fixes, and then push it through Windows updates. Push it through Windows updates. So this is how generally you update your PowerShell version with number of commandlets or help files, keeping the help system up to date with version 1 and version 2. So there are a lot of issues with this particular approach. So Microsoft has redesigned how the help system is getting updated from version 3 and version 4 and version 5. So let's go ahead and see that architecture. So if you see, when you have a client machine which has Windows 7 with version 2 of PowerShell installed, and it has some commandlets and help files sitting on the operating system hard disk, and if ever Microsoft produced some additional commandlets for that particular operating system and the version of PowerShell, it need to wait for Microsoft to push those updates in terms of service pack updates or monthly Windows patches or whatever it is. And then in version 3 and version 4 and version 5, what we have is the client can run a particular command on the PowerShell console. So the PowerShell console knows where to go and download the latest updates. So it will go to the internet and then talk to the Microsoft servers, and it will get the information from the internet to your local hard disk. By taking this approach, you can always ensure that your help files are up to date, because potentially there are hundreds of commands that are produced by Microsoft each and every day. So you can actually make sure that your help system is up to date by taking this approach, which is version 3, version 4 and version 5. But if you are still using version 1 and version 2, you still need to stick to the same approach, and that could be one of the reasons why you need to switch to the latest version. With that said, you can just take a look at the table here. So version 1 and version 2 does not have the updatable help. Version 3, version 4, version 5 comes with updatable help feature. So let's see how this updatable help normally works in version 2 and version 4 in my lab environment. So if I go to the PowerShell console and type update help, PowerShell immediately throws an error saying that update help is not recognized as a commandlet or a function or a script file, because PowerShell version 2 doesn't know how to interpret that particular command, because that command is specifically designed to work with version 3, version 4 and version 5. So version 2 of PowerShell throws an error right away. So if in case you have any doubts about what version of PowerShell you are running, always go to the variable $ps version table, and when you type in, you see the version of console that I am running right now here is version 2 of PowerShell. So if I go ahead and execute the same command in the version 4 of PowerShell, which is in my lab environment, update -help, it is going to take a couple of minutes to find the source from which it needs to download the help files, and as soon as it finds the source, it is going to give me a status bar like that on the screen. As you can see, it is going to update the help files for me on the console. And then the updatable help files are stored on my local hard disk, and you can actually go ahead and run this update help command as many as number of times you want. But by design, if you have run update help once, it is absolutely fine in a day. If in case if you want to run update help multiple times on the same day, you can use the parameter -force. It will force Windows PowerShell to go ahead and talk to the Microsoft servers once again, and then download any further updatable help files that are available for your operating system. As you can see, the progress bar showing that it is updating help for each and every module. So modules are essentially commands that come for each and every technology. So help files are available for each and every module. So the content is being updated at this point on my PowerShell console. Now let's go ahead and launch another PowerShell while the update help is updating the help files in the background. Let's use the get command to find what are the commandlets that I can use to interpret the PowerShell help system. So update help, in the noun just type in the keyword help, and if you are not sure if that is going to work, precede that and end that with a hashtag symbol, which is a wildcard, which means anything before help and anything after help. Just ensure that the help keyword exists in that particular commandlet. So when I just run that, I get three commandlets in return, which are get help, save help, and updatable help. So as you can see, we already dealt with update help. It is used to update the help system on your local computer. And then we are going to now talk about get help. In the presentation, we did see an example of how to get help for a particular commandlet. So get help followed by the commandlet on which you need help on. So get help, get service. So when I hit enter, you can see there is a documentation that is available for me. So it gives me the name of the commandlet, which is essentially the commandlet that you are looking for help on, and then a synopsis. So it says get the services on local or remote computer, which means this commandlet is going to return me the output of list of services on the local machine or on a remote machine. So which means this particular commandlet can work with remote computers as well. And there is a syntax column right here. So in the syntax, we have three different syntaxes. So if you ever want to use get service, you need to use one of these syntax styles to get your output. So we are going to talk about these syntax styles in the later videos. These are called parameter sets. So each and every syntax specifically talks about one parameter set. So we have three parameter sets essentially in this particular syntax, right? And this is a description. This is a long description on what this commandlet does. Synopsis is a short description, and this is a long description of what that particular commandlet does. And there is also a related links, and there is an online version of this particular documentation, which means I can open up my browser and then go to this particular link that is there in the PowerShell console, and when I hit return, I am going to get the get service documentation in the docs.microsoft.com website with the detailed HTML view of what this particular service is going to do. So this is one of the neat ways you can actually go ahead and read the documentation if you are not comfortable using the PowerShell console itself to scroll through and read the documentation. Now we are going to talk about some of the parameters that get help is going to support. So there is a parameter called dash full. Dash full actually shows me the full help of that particular commandlet. So previously I did not get this information explaining each and every parameter and some of the examples right there on the screen, as you can see. So by default, the design doesn't allow you to get the complete help system. If you want to get the complete help, you need to use the dash full parameter, and then it talks about each and every parameter, what it does, and then it also talks about some of the examples on how to use the get service. So there are close to 11 examples in this particular case, which you can always refer to on how to use this particular commandlet. So let's talk about these parameters a little bit. So what are these parameters I am often referring to? See, parameters are if you take a Swiss Army knife, right? Swiss Army knife, let me just go ahead and show you how a Swiss Army knife actually look like. Swiss Army knife, if you're not familiar with this. So there are a lot of different knives that are available within the Swiss Army. Can you see this Swiss Army knife right here? As you can see, there are multiple different options that are available. So when I use this option, I get a different functionality. When I use this one, I get a different functionality. Similar to that, when I use this, I have a different functionality. If you take this knife as a complete commandlet, a knife as a complete commandlet, it has various different parameters. So when you use a specific parameter with a commandlet, the functionality of that particular commandlet or the behavior of that particular commandlet changes according to that parameter. So let's go ahead and see what I mean by that in the real time. So when I use the dash full parameter, I actually got the complete help, right? This is one of the knives in the Swiss Army knife. If I use another one which says detailed, I get a detailed help, right? I get a detailed help. So if you see here, I did not get help about each and every parameter, right? If you scroll through up, you can see that every parameter that is part of the syntax has a detailed description when I used the dash full switch. But when I used the dash detailed parameter, I did not get that information. So the behavior is slightly different for the dash detailed parameter. If I use something called as show window, I get a different behavior. You can see a floating window appearing on my PowerShell console in which I can actually search, find, and I can do a lot of things using this floating window. If you have a different monitor, you can just pull this window to a different monitor. You can just refer through the documentation. Simultaneously, you can type the command on your PowerShell console itself. So the behavior changes with the parameter you are using, but the commandlet still remains the same. So that's how the parameters are actually designed to work with a commandlet. And then we have one more example parameter which you can use. As you can see, this particular examples parameter, when I type with get help, I just get only examples. I don't get any syntax styles that I need to use, or I don't get any detailed information about the parameters. I just get examples on my screen. So this is how you are going to interpret the help system with various different parameters. So always remember, it is very good for you to go ahead and use the dash full parameter, because it has all the information that you need. So it just throws you all the information on the PowerShell console, where you can just select whatever you need instead of specifying a specific parameter. Only do that if you are comfortable doing so. Else always remember to read the full help documentation, which gives me a lot of information about how to use that particular commandlet. You can always do that with any particular commandlet. For example, get process dash full, it gives me a detailed information about how to use the get process commandlet. And then there is another way of using the help system. You can just type help and then get service. So it is essentially going to give me the help system again, but the only difference is that, as you can see in the previous example, I am getting the complete information on the screen and I need to scroll through to find information. But in this particular case, you can see that only the information that fits on my console is being available, and then I have dash more. When I hit any key on my keyboard, it returns the next set of help file. For example, I use the full help again, help get service full. As you can see, now only the information that fits on my console is displayed in the first place, and then when I hit the space bar on my keyboard, I get the next set of information. Again, when I hit space bar, I get the other set of information, and so on. So if you are actually worried about the information that is splitted onto the console as soon as you run get help, you may take this approach where only specific set of information that fits on the console displays first, and then the rest of the information is in the pipeline. As soon as you hit space bar on your keyboard, it will display the next set of help file that is available for you. So there is a lot of information, and you can go through, and you can always use the full help file to actually get through that particular help of a particular commandlet. Now we talked about updatable help, we talked about how to find help for a particular commandlet. Now we are going to talk about how to find help for concepts. About underscore, again, if you don't know what concept you are looking for help on, just hit star. So these are all the concepts that are available within PowerShell. There is a concept called alias, there is a concept called operators, there is a concept called arrays, and then there are concepts called as about, do, for each, for, and there are a lot of different other things available for you. So if you are looking for a specific help on what is an alias in PowerShell, just copy this, then go to get help about underscore aliases. By default it is designed to give you the full help, so you don't need to specify dash full when you are looking for help on conceptual based help. So it again gives about a topic, short description, long description, and then some built-in information, what are the commandlets that you need to use for alias creation, and so on. Don't worry about what is an alias at this point. I will definitely cover that in a couple of videos later from now, but I'm just demonstrating how to see the help for concepts. And then if you are looking for some regular expressions, so go ahead and see, as soon as I type reg and then hit the tab key on my keyboard, PowerShell auto completes that, so you don't need to really type all the regular underscore expressions, but the tab completion is always there. Try to use that as much as possible to avoid errors, and also you can make long commands autofill very easily using the tab completion on the keyboard. So when I hit enter, it talks about what a regular expression is in PowerShell and what are the characters that are supported, and each and every information about specific characters that you can use within Windows PowerShell regular expressions. So this is how you see for information about help topics on conceptual based help within Windows PowerShell. Finally, there is one more thing called save help. So when I hit get command noun help, I got 3 commands. So essentially we covered 2 commands here. The first command get help is covered, and the second help update help is covered. The third one we left with is the save help. So imagine what happens when you are in a secure network, which means, for example, in the previous cases, I have a client computer with Windows PowerShell version 3, version 4, version 5. It has direct internet access. So when I run update help, it is talking to the internet and then to the Microsoft servers and then downloading the updates. This is absolutely fine. But what if this particular machine, which has Windows PowerShell version 3, version 4, version 5, doesn't have an internet access? So how it is going to pull the information from the Microsoft servers? So this is what we call as a secure environment, where the machine doesn't have an internet access. So in those cases, what you can do is, from a machine that has internet, right, you run something called as save help. And save help actually takes a parameter called path. So using this parameter, you will specify a path where I need to save these files. For example, see Windows temp. So now what happens is, from the machine that you have internet, you are going to download the files and save it to a specific location. Later on, you can move that to a file share, or you can share the same folder, and from a machine that has no internet, you can run update help and hyphen path and point to this particular path where you have saved those files. Using that particular commands, you can go ahead and then update your help files. For example, save help hyphen path destination path c:temp, for example. So now if I go fail to save help for the modules, that's fine. Let's go ahead and see if I have C temp folder available. No folder. I'll create a folder C temp. Again, save help hyphen path destination path, is c:\temp. So by running this command I need to wait for some time, and I can see the files are getting saved onto my local hard disk. As you can see, these are the files that are help files that are getting saved to my local hard disk. Later on I can just share this folder. I go ahead and sharing, and then share this folder, and someone else can actually go ahead and imagine that this particular PowerShell console doesn't have internet access. He can say update help, and then path, source path is c:\temp on whatever the machine. For example, it is a file share, source path is file share slash temp, whatever it is. So PowerShell is going to look in that particular folder, and then it is going to pull that information and then update the help files, though your machine is not connected to the internet. By this way you can always go ahead and update your help files even though you're on a machine or on a network which is doesn't allow you to connect to the internet. So we essentially talked a lot about the PowerShell help system, on how the PowerShell help system works and how to interpret the help system, how to update the help system, and when your machine is not connected to the internet, how to get the updates by saving those information on a connected machine to the internet. So essentially this is all you need to know about the help system. In the later videos when we specifically use commandlets, we go through this documentation, we understand what the help system documentation is going to provide to you, and then we will navigate step by step throughout this course using the help system a lot. So I just want to set a context before we go there. So that's it for this video, friends. Thank you so much for watching, and if you like the video, please do share, like and subscribe to my channel, and it will encourage me to do more and more videos for you. Thank you and have a wonderful day.